Thanks for joining in for our, I don't know, I guess this is the first full commission with the new members of the EDC commission. So I wasn't here to introduce myself when you all met the last time. So I am Jeremy Rosner. I'm a commercial realtor and property manager at Levy Miller Moretz and Woodbridge. I've been on the EDC commission, I can't remember. I think it was either 2014 or 2015, and I've been chair for the last 3 years, I guess it is. But it's nice to see all the new faces, and I'm sure we're going to be able to put together some ideas and move some of the stuff that we've been working on for quite a while forward. So I guess the first item of business is the minutes from the July meeting. I wasn't in attendance because I had another meeting, but so I can't really approve them, but there is a quorum here. So those who are in attendance definitely can. So does anyone want to make a motion to approve the July minutes?
Yeah, I can make a motion. So I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Anyone?
Second.
Any discussion about the minutes? Any questions or anything? No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Can move along. Second order of business, and I've never done this as the chair, so I'm not sure how it really works. Betsy, it's the election of officers.
So Cleo knows the stuff better than I do, but my thought is that you would first go through and see if anybody would like to make a nomination for chair, and then you'd go through for vice chair in the same process for secretary. Is that correct, Cleo?
I think so, yeah. We would vote nominations, and then that person accepts or declines, and then if there's more than one, we vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess, does anyone want to make a nomination for chair? Debbie?
I nominate Jeremy to stay on as chair.
I'll second that. I don't remember if nominations need seconds, but.
Any other nominations?
Nope.
Okay.
That was simple.
I'll accept the nomination, but thank you. Hopefully we can get a lot of stuff done in the next little bit. So next up is the
I think we just have to sort of officially vote
Yeah,
on
okay.
it, even though you're the only one.
So someone has to make a motion, I believe. Probably not me. No?
No,
Debbie did, and then Cleo seconded, so you just need to vote on it.
Okay.
In favor.
all in favor.
Okay. Do we have any nominations for vice chair?
So I'd like to nominate Sean. I know he's not here though.
Can he accept in his absence? Any other nominations?
I would nominate Robert Scherer.
The brand new guy.
Yeah. You've already done a lot of work, so.
So we have 2 nominations. Now, how would we do that without Sean here?
Well, I think Debbie was going to make another nomination or second something.
Debbie, go ahead.
You're on mute, Debbie.
A second for Robert.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just don't know how it works with Sean not being here. So he can't accept or ask questions or anything.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think he can be nominated unless he told anybody in advance that he wanted it.
Okay. So then if Sean can't be here to accept, what is the best thing to do? Do we table that, or do we move forward with a nominee that is present? Sorry to ask the questions. I just want to make sure we get it right.
Well, if there's no second, then I think there's no motion on the table. Does that sound correct, Cleo?
I don't know.
Toby, did you have a chance to talk to Sean about it at all? No?
No?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I think, you know, the Roberts rules are a little relaxed with the committees. It's not like we're the Board of
Right.
Selectmen. So,
You know, I could text him real quickly if you'd like.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
if
I mean,
some-
I
I don't know if he's available. He was at a
He
soccer.
said he was at
game.
soccer practice.
yeah.
Well,
And
let's
then-
table while Scott texts Sean. Let's move on to the secretary position, and we can come back to this. So, does anyone want to make a motion for the secretary position?
What's the role of the secretary in this?
I think if Betsy couldn't make it,
Exactly. So it's kind of back up to me. If something happens and I'm not available to be there, then somebody would be taking the minutes.
I'd like to nominate Cleo. Maybe.
I'll second that.
All in favor? One vote. Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor? There's no other nominees.
Is that okay with Cleo?
Yeah, you just have to ask. That's fine, as long as it's not.
Every time.
Sorry, Betsy.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll formalize it as the occasional secretary, Cleo.
Great. So everyone's in favor. We'll formally have a secretary. Good. Why don't we wait to see if we hear back from Sean, then we can move up back to this as we move the agenda along. So the next item on the agenda is the CEDAS best practices, and I know that CEDAS hasn't put their new application up on their website as of yet. I don't believe it comes out till November. I tried to see if I could find some old emails with the application in it from previous years, but I didn't. But I know, Betsy, you and I have talked about the various things that we think we can accomplish without too much going out of our comfort zone and getting some of these things, filling out the application and submitting it. I guess the application comes out in November and has to be in by the end of the year, and then the beginning of January, I think CEDAS goes and reviews the applications. Is that correct?
Yeah, it looks like the application is due mid-January, and then towns would be notified in February or March. And the most recent application that I've seen is from 2019. And I know they were planning on changing it significantly because it was unintentionally cumbersome. So I don't know if that means the way you submit the information will be changed or if it's the type of things they're looking for. But we have gone through the list as a commission. Maybe it was in the July meeting and realized that there were, at least based on that 2019 application, there were a lot of things that we could say that we're doing.
But there were also a lot of things that we couldn't answer because it would be like other departments.
Right, and so I had touched base with Chris Sullivan, who chairs the zoning commission, and she and I discussed it, and there were a couple things on there that we were going to look into if it was possible to change the procedure. There are other things that we do that are probably not well known that it would be good for us to make it more clear to people that those things are an option. So it's at least going through the 2019 one was a good practice, and it'll be interesting to see what the new application has.
I have a question. With CEDAS, if we do fill out the application and we are accepted or we're granted recipients of CEDAS being designated a CEDAS municipality, what does that do for the town of Woodbridge?
I think it just gives us bragging rights
Okay. Okay. Very good. So is there anything else to discuss about this? If we don't really have it formally formally here to really
I
go
don't
over?
think so, only because we don't really know what they'll be asking of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that CEDAS best practices rolls into the next item on the agenda, which is the 2021 goals. And if, one of those goals is to try to get as much of the CEDAS application filled out, it ends up being more of a 2022 goal. But it's something we can work on in 2021 towards a 2022 goal. So we've talked about a lot of goals over the last couple of years. And I went through the minutes from the last meeting, and I didn't know if there was anything that you all discussed that you wanted to sort of further along in this meeting. The and you went over the survey again, and what other, it says the commission briefly discussed goals. Was there anything discussed that you want to bring up now that we have a larger number of us?
It feels like it was a long time ago, but I don't think there was anything too specific that was discussed. Robert?
No, there wasn't last time, but I just wanted to throw out there, and again, it's why I probably sent you guys the information I sent. The two plans, from 2013 and 2015, the town plan, they have goals. They have actually action items for the EDC, and since I'm so new, I don't know, have we, as historically, looked at those and done anything with the specific things they put out there for the EDC to work on?
Did anyone have a chance to review
It's really
the?
just a question.
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed them a long time ago, and I just looked at them again, and as a commission, we've never looked at the action items during a meeting.
Okay, that's probably why I put it in. I'm wondering, is that something we want to at least consider, in 2021 to think about?
I think that's part of our charge. I mean, if the
Yeah.
POCD governs the town's development for.
Right. Okay, that's the only item I wanted to throw out there to the group.
Yeah, and Rob, it was helpful that you sent that across, and it doesn't have to be now, but you could certainly also walk us through perhaps like highlights of what you think is most relevant or material that you think makes sense for maybe the commission to consider as well as a potential recommendation.
That'd be great. I mean, I figure if we've all kind of get the same base of knowledge by looking at all this stuff, then we can have a real discussion and see if something comes out that's meaningful and doable in that. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm again so new to this.
I mean, some things we have been doing with Betsy's help, like maintain regular contact with the business community. So we've been doing that with the various business sectors and
Working on promoting businesses.
Got it.
But yeah, like understanding the town's role within the larger regional economy. Well, we've had a couple presentations from regional economic development. I don't know if that actually addresses that goal, but we're sort of on the path. So yeah, I think Jeremy, he's right. We should probably incorporate these goals into our goals somehow.
So what if we, for the next meeting, we pull out the action items from the POCD and we put them into the agenda and sort of do a little check on everything and see where we are with some of these goals. And I'm sure we're doing a number of them, and some of them I believe are going to be something that's going to be, zoning's their purview, not necessarily ours.
Yeah, or
but
the board of selectmen, yeah.
And if we can lend, and like I sort of want to, if we can lend our ideas, our thoughts, our goals to them and try to support the selectmen and planning and zoning, I think that we can all work together in trying to push all of these things forward.
Yeah, I wondered if we could be kind of the foot soldiers for some of the things for, the board of selectmen to, to help just to help move things along, if possible. We have, some energy and time to put into it.
And I think that's great. I think over the last couple of years, especially during the last 2 years, it's been hard to really
Oh, yeah.
work with anyone other than ourselves and the business community who are directly reaching out to with the Woodbridge Bucks and all that kind of stuff. But if we actually put some time and effort into this and put together a letter of recommendation or our thoughts on how we can move some of these charges along, pass them on, I think that we can all start moving as a group and try to, accomplish a lot of this stuff. I'm just trying to.
Just so everybody knows, I mean, Robert pointed out page 40, and page 138, and they're the same goals. They're just presented in a
Oh,
different.
is it a duplicate? Sorry, I was doing it
I
fast.
don't know. I wasn't sure myself until I double checked, but basically they take all the goals from the various chapters and they summarize it on the
In the later section. Got it.
Economic development. So the goals are the action items can continue to promote new businesses that provide synergies with existing businesses without exacerbating traffic problems. Sure, check. We're not causing any traffic problems. Be alert to state tax benefits of operations with high volume instruments. I don't know if that's.
Where are you reading?
I'm reading the economic development action items in the town plan of conservation and development.
Which page?
Page 138. Another goal is to maintain regular contact with the business community.
Yeah.
Reach out to businesses, owners, and employees to maintain a business-friendly climate and solve common problems proactively. We certainly are doing that. Lead continuing business recruitment and development towards achieving a mix of economic assets in town. I think through some of the marketing efforts we've put together, we're attempting to do that, and I think Betsy's going to be able to talk about some other things that we just came into that we'll be able to sort of move that along with as well. Establish contact with home-based businesses to include them in development initiatives and opportunities. Definitely have done that. To the help of Betsy reaching out to them. Recently, it was a couple years ago, there was a home business fair that we had in town. Trying to see if this goes on to another page. Advocate for solutions to transportation needs.
That says the lead agency is Board of Selectmen / EDC.
Okay.
Board of Selectmen planner. So.
All right. So we stop at the top. We stop at the bottom of page 138. So we've
No,
gone.
there's still more that keep going.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But like you said, I think it's a good idea to put it on the agenda for.
Yeah, it certainly, I wasn't trying to bring it up tonight as a thing but just more like let's read and, I would love to have a discussion and see if I can be helpful in some way. All of us can, I'd love to do it,
Right. So I guess for homework, if everyone's just take this down, basically like page 138 through page I would say 140 something. 142.
Yeah, through 142.
Even further along. But from 138 on, there's a lot of action items. So that would be a good place to read through and just see what some of these items are. And then we can make a discussion of it at the next meeting. So good.
Super.
Jeremy, is there a formal charter for the EDC?
There is.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
I didn't include it in the packet, but I can add it and send it to you guys.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great.
It's very short, but yeah, it is.
Sure.
It's very short, but it took a long time to come up with it.
I'll bet. No, it was well crafted. I have a PDF of it. I will email it to everybody after the meeting.
Well, there's actually two things. And so there's the charge with the enabling ordinance from whenever the commission was created. And then Jeremy, what I think you're referring to is the mission statement. And they're not different, but I think the mission, well, they're sort of different, but the mission statement I think is a little more specific.
Right.
So we'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Do we want to talk a little bit about marketing and Betsy, some of the things that we talked about the other day? Regarding
Sure.
marketing
So I know EDC's been talking quite a bit about marketing, and we haven't really settled on, are we marketing existing businesses, or are we marketing the town as a location to do business, or some combination of both? And the town has access to ARPA funding. That's the American Rescue Plan Act. So some of this COVID dollars that is coming through. And the rules are very complex about what you can spend it on. And we've been working with the Board of Selectmen to start coming up with a plan for how to spend it. And the plan needs to be finalized by the Board of Selectmen and approved by them. So nothing is set in stone. We're still thinking in kind of buckets. We haven't gotten down to like a bulleted list yet, or even dollar amounts. But one thing that we're hopeful would be included in the plan is marketing for local businesses, and or marketing Woodbridge as a place to do business. And this is something that, if it is approved by the board, this is a pot of money that we will probably never have access to again. And so it could be a really great opportunity to do some big thinking stuff about, the sort of examples that we've seen from other towns where I think it was Wyndham that did this very intense marketing plan. I don't know that we could do something to that scale, but possibly something like that. And the other thing that we're talking about doing is spending money on holding events in the business district to bring in people. And the events that I've been doing lately are, I have no budget at all. So they're all like, can you give me $5? Can you print posters for me? I'm like doing things on less than a shoestring budget. And so this is something that if the board approves, and I think if you guys got behind it, we could be holding events that have like real marketing dollars behind them. There's actual funding to the event. We could pay for things like bands and other things like that, where we could really hopefully make a difference in bringing in people into the business district to help them see what businesses we have here and to be spending money locally.
Great. Now, when can we start? When does the board vote on to approve this?
So it's a very long timeline. So the funding needs to be committed by December 2024 and spent by the end of 2026. So we've got a little while before anything is finalized. But I'm not sure how the board's going to want to deal with this. Parts of it they don't necessarily need to finalize all of the spending as one plan. Maybe some of it is carved out if specific things are decided on, and other things are, I guess what I'm trying to say is there doesn't need to be one plan. It could be parceled out, or it could be dealt with as one entire package that's all approved at the same time. So I don't really have an answer for you on timing.
Okay. So what can we do to move that along? Or is it sort of we wait for now and then?
I think it's a little bit of a waiting game. There are some other things that we're looking to do that will have real specific costs to them. So, for example, one thing that we discussed with the Board of Selectmen last night is the necessity to have an HVAC system in the center building. There's currently no air handling system there, and that's important because that's where the senior center is. Our recreation department is not using the gym right now because there's no fresh air in there and you can't open the windows. There's a door. So we're not playing basketball inside. Holding a special town meeting or a referendum to seek bonding to renovate the old firehouse was put off because things spiked with Delta, and we didn't want to ask people to come and stand in line in the gym where there's no fresh air. So it is definitely an issue. And of course, that is where we have the shelter. So it's not really safe to open a shelter right now in a building where there's no fresh air. So that is a hard and fast cost. And we're pretty certain that before we put air handling units on that building, we need a new roof. So there are some things where marketing you could spend, I don't know, $1,000 or $500,000, but the air handling on the roof has a real fixed cost to it. And so things like that are going to kind of dictate how much is left for other projects that we want to do, but don't have necessarily a set cost to them.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's basically a big pot of money that comes to the town. The town's going to parse out how they want to use it in the various, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of complex rules about what you can and cannot use it for.
Got it. Okay. All right. So we've talked about some events. Did you guys discuss anything about the Halloween, bringing back the Woodbridge Bucks or anything for the Halloween at the last meeting?
No.
Hey, Jeremy, do you mind if I speak to something Betsy said earlier? Which,
Sure. Go ahead.
yeah. So I know that earlier when Betsy mentioned like money constraints and the budget and making a difference to the business, the district, which I think we're all here to do. I do know that in addition to maybe one of the ideas Rob brought up earlier, I think there are other ways that we can kind of meaningfully make a difference, and it might be worth discussing, especially in this meeting or in future meetings. Like in my head, I certainly know that I think there are a couple of things I think would be ideal goals for the EDC as well, but obviously open to what everyone else thinks as well. One, I certainly would like, a former EDC town resident to be more excited, to volunteer in town in ways that they personally believe like either helps new businesses or creates a more positive economic climate. And so I think, whatever we're doing, aside from our, achieving our mandate, I think that the people who volunteer on this committee, should feel, more positive about the town and have more access to opportunities to volunteer in the town in an economic sense. But then I also think number two is I think it's very important philosophically that people like who volunteer on the committee feel maybe more empowered to deal with the town's economic issues, like especially after their term has ended. So like, yeah, I think like that goal in my head is that the EDC should also be effectively manufacturing like Woodbridge residents who feel more self-confident about like contributing to discussions about the town's economic future. So like for instance, right, like I think we've all discussed at length that like the mandate of the EDC is like, promoting and developing business resources and the tax base and the quality of life. But so like for instance, right, we could also be, talking about, for instance, in addition, maybe like the most important economic town issues and, finding ways to publish like our thinking or philosophy on those issues to help more Woodbridge residents become like more active in the economics of Woodbridge, more interested, more participating, like more informed, more self-confident. Like there's certainly other things that we could do within the constraints of the budget that would help Woodbridge residents become more involved and more interested and more, cooperating and informed about like the economic potential of the town. So I think that's something we should consider.
Okay, I'm trying to think of an example of what. Can you give me an example of something that you're talking about? Like,
Yeah, like so for instance, I did give an example, like for instance, what's the most important economic issue in the town? I don't think it's something that, one member should decide, but like for instance, we could certainly discuss a number of economic issues that we think meaningfully affect the town. And then we could, take some time to write up an opinion, not what the Board of Selectmen should do, right? But more like a factual opinion that informs, Woodbridge residents about, what it means for them and kind of, again, creates a certain level of support so that people can easily access that information and say, okay, so I'm more informed or I'm more self-confident about what's going on in town and, where we're heading as a town. And, I can look at this and say, well, that makes sense to me, or here are my thoughts, here are my informed thoughts. And so I think in part, yeah, the commission can certainly participate in that activity. But then also, again, like the first idea, I also think that it's very important that, whatever this commission does, in addition to its mandate regarding business resources and the tax base and, improving the quality of life of Woodbridge residents, that people who are former EDC members should also, right, like by the end of their term, they should feel more positive about the town. Like they should feel more empowered about their ability to deal with economic issues that they see in the town. And so that means, I think, creating the infrastructure like Rob started working on, that is either an onboarding document for new EDC members or materials that can go that townsfolk can read so they become more informed, or materials that make us all more informed and make us operate on the same page so that we can be more thoughtful about what the problems either we're looking at or the opinions we're issuing, and so on and so forth. Just a thought.
I think in
it sounds
effect,
like you
that's
want
what,
to. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, it sounds like Toby's saying wants to have an informed public, so they can have an intelligent discussion about things. When things are changing or economic development is proposed, the whole town is more informed in discussing it. Right? Is that sort of where you were heading?
Yeah. And yeah, as an example, I think one way to do that would be, for instance, the EDC to perhaps discuss or come up with economic issues, the top 5 important economic issues for Woodbridge resident to know, do some research on that, issue a factual opinion so that people can look at that, stuff like that.
Isn't that in effect what we did with the survey?
Not quite, right? Because so the survey accomplishes that, but like, for instance, an economic issue in town, not a analysis of, I don't know, not quite like an analysis of, perhaps like conditions and what residents want, so much as also taking a look at the top 5 most, like, so what's like the top 5 most pressing economic issues that, the
There are no sidewalks to connect our business district.
well,
That's a
no,
huge
like,
one.
we could certainly, right, like, for instance, like the country club is one, right? There are tons of things, and it doesn't have to be the country club, but that's an example of plenty of things where we could issue more information so that people can look at it and, yeah, just get a better understanding.
Debbie?
I think it goes back to communication and transparency. Sometimes we hear from residents and neighbors of, I didn't know that was happening, or I didn't know that was going to happen. So maybe there are some avenues that we can discuss about communicating. And I know a while back we talked about creating a position piece. I forget what the item on the table was at that point. Maybe it was something country club related. I'm sorry.
The abatement stuff we went over and we sent the
Yeah,
letter.
there was, I think it was something about the country club and maybe the tax abatements where we thought we would publish some type of position, nothing so lengthy, but our collective opinion and some facts to back it up. So I'm not against that from time to time. I think it depends on the subject though. But I think there is something to be said for communication with people in town, because not everybody reads the newsletter, not everybody sees something on Facebook. So anytime there's an opportunity to try to get the word out would be helpful, whether it's a small item like Woodbridge Bucks or a big item that like tax abatements.
Okay. I think that these are all very good points. I think a key to this is trying to figure out how we can lend a hand to the voting bodies and in a way to support their efforts. Like Robert said before, doing a little of the footwork and a little of the muscle, trying to move some of that stuff along, polling, gathering business owners, gathering landlords to get their feel on certain economic issues that TP&Z is discussing and trying to move forward. We don't have any voting power, but we can certainly lend our opinion and our research and our discussions to try to help them focus and move their agendas forward. Betsy, do you have any thought?
Well, when it comes specifically to the country club, to just stick with that as an example, I think it is very difficult for people to agree on a set of facts. And I think I would assume that this is a politically diverse board, and so you may not all agree on the facts or the assumptions. I also worry that, sticking with the country club as an example, if you came up with a position paper on the country club saying we should do X or we should do Y, I worry that the people in the business district who disagree with you, that will somehow color their opinion of other things that you're trying to accomplish. And maybe that's just because the country club specifically is so divisive. Maybe there are other issues that wouldn't be an issue on. That would be my concern.
So it's a valid point. I would say though that, we're not now. I want to just be clear that my recommendation, like, we're not recommending to the people who've been voted in what they should do. Instead, we're issuing like a factual opinion on the dynamics of the situation. So that can include pros and cons. That can include all the different sides, like the top three rationales of all the different sides. And I would also add, right, that we all may not agree. And I think we're all a sample of Woodbridge residents, right? So if we all don't agree, then certainly there are people out there who don't agree. And I don't think, formalizing that and, helping people understand the different sides at all would do any harm. But yeah, I hear your concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think our first and foremost charge is really to build the tax base, raise the grand list, work with landlords in improving their properties, helping current businesses make more money, increase their visibility to the town so that the town knows what we offer. Town meaning the residents, like you're saying, Toby. We're a source for passing on business news and information, events, ways that we can help them bring more foot traffic to their stores. Instead of, up in town green and things like that. But on the other end of it, there's definitely these big picture items, big thinking items, that I'm sure we can certainly, gather information and discuss. And if there's a topic that we want to talk about, like sidewalks or any of these other things, or, the current state of the layout of the business district with all the housing and the stores all mixed up together and all that kind of stuff, we can certainly put together, an opinion sheet on that kind of stuff that can be passed on to whomever. Like Betsy said, I don't think we don't want to discourage business owners that we're putting all of our efforts into something that they can't really, that they're not going to get anything out of. But I like the idea. I think there's two pieces. There's smaller immediate things we can do, and then there's this larger big picture stuff that we're talking about 24, 25 with a budget that's going to be these buckets. And if we can start putting together some ideas on how that can be used, should we be allotted any money? I think that's the kind of stuff we can do as sort of big picture items. So anyways, thanks, Toby. Anyone else? I feel like we're just talking. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Just going to mention that there's a lot in the Yale 2013, broad plan on streetscape and how important that is for economic development. So that I was happy to hear you talk about streets and landscaping and all that. That might be an area to explore more.
So just to shed some light, we over the last what is this 8 years have talked about a lot of that. It went so far as when Jody was chair and Jamie was vice chair. Went so far as spending money on coming up with signage designs that could be bought or we could raise money for in the business district. What we found a little bit while we had some great ideas, the budget wasn't there to be able to come up with some of those items.
Yeah, I would think that would be the big stumbling block. Is there any grant money that we could go for stuff like that? Is that something that falls in that zone?
So specifically for signage, there has not been any grant money for the kind of welcome to Woodbridge signs. There is potentially signage for things that are probably less relevant to the business district, that, you know, things that say school this way, town hall that way, but not sort of the big welcome to Woodbridge signs, which are.
Is there ever money for beautification of like streets and sidewalks and that kind of stuff, or is that out of the zone of grant money?
There has not been for a while.
Okay.
There used to be, and it may come back at some point in the future. There's also the STEEP grant that the state usually gives out on an annual basis. It used to be $500,000. This last round was $128,000. And you only get one shot a year. So I'm not sure how likely it is that we would get a grant for that.
I see.
So it's slim pickings right now.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of ideas, good ones. It's just that a lot of the challenge is bringing them forward. We're in a very simple fashion. Right before the pandemic happened, we were talking about doing planters all over town, and we had a big plan. Debbie and Betsy and I met so many times, coming up with the design of the planter, what would go in them, how it would get them away from the snowplows, who would plant it, who would water it. But there's so many different moving pieces. Then the pandemic hit and sort of
Yeah.
but
Went on hold.
we went
Yeah.
as far as to get the cost per the barrels and everything else that we're going to put out there. We had to design how the setbacks, the corners they were going to be on, and
But then
Just-
it met with some resistance also from the
It
business.
did. It was
Really?
received lukewarm.
Would it be a great unifier, actually? That's one way to kind of unify an area too, to have a consistent, theme.
So they appreciated the concept, but they did not like the details.
Execution. Okay. I see.
So we were sent back to the drawing board, and then the next month the pandemic hit.
I see.
What
we
about
talked
the
about-
details? Didn't they? What about the details? Didn't they appreciate? Just out of curiosity.
So the planters that we looked at were the like whiskey barrel wooden ones. And so some people thought that those looked too kind of like rural hokey.
Country.
So that was
rustic.
one issue. Yes, rustic is a
Nice.
better word. And others worried that people wouldn't maintain them and that the flowers would just dry up and, not be of
Depressing.
service. Others thought that people would use them as ashtrays. So, there were a lot of sort of logistical concerns, but they really did appreciate the concept.
So I think one thing we want to do, because this is all about it's not all about, but we want to make the businesses in town feel like we're behind them and supporting them. One thing we've talked about a lot, and is definitely one create a business association. Something where the businesses can meet regularly and maybe could fund some sort of an event for themselves. We have a number of different complexes between 245 Bradley and Selden Plaza and at Crest, that there's a number of places where you could hold meetings or events or happy hours, but a way that the business owners could feel like they're all supporting each other positively so that they can get people out to their shops. So it's definitely one thing that I've always wanted to try to get moving. We used to do, you know, Betsy's been great in at putting together various groups of business owners. So there's a wellness group, and there was a retail group, and there was I forget the other group they had, Betsy, but and she would have individual meetings with those groups to see what they needed and what their thoughts were and all that kind of stuff. And we would try to roll out um, information to those folks. And I think if we can try to help the businesses create their own business association, so when they come in, whether it could be a monetary value, maybe they pay $50 each a month towards the business association, but they all keep in a kitty, and they can use it towards events for themselves. But I think it would be, helpful for us to try to move that along. And I think the businesses appreciate it. They've always seemed to like getting together and talking about what's going on down there and seeing what each other does. So that's one thing that I've just always had it as a goal.
As a follow-up, sorry,
Yeah.
Jeremy, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Did I interrupt you?
Yeah. No, you didn't do it.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say that, so did speak to Sean. Sean did accept the nomination, but I'm sure like we'll maybe have to punt that nomination to maybe another meeting. I don't know what everyone thinks. But at the very least, he accepted the nomination.
Okay. Do we have to punt it to another meeting? I don't think so.
You could, or so now you have sort of dueling nominations that could be discussed.
Okay.
And voted on.
The only reason I hypothetically said punt to another meeting is because I know that ideally you'd want both candidates here. You'd maybe want them each to share maybe why they think, maybe what their thoughts are on what they could perhaps bring to the table or what their vision is for what they want to do. I don't know.
Sure. I'm in favor of moving it to the next meeting. Do we need a vote on that, or we can just table it?
I think you can just table it. Cleo, do you know? I need a refresher. You're on mute, Cleo.
I think he can just table it as chairman.
Okay.
All right, we'll table it to the next meeting. Anything else with the number 4 on the agenda? Marketing, data, events. I mean, we've discussed the survey to some extent in the last meeting, from what I saw. Events is the last part of number 4 and all of number 5. So if we want to talk about any of the things that we may be able to do in October, did we come to any sort of consensus on this business district? I don't know. I could shed some light. I guess I don't know who all the people were in the meeting, Betsy, when I came in, the meeting we had the other day. But you want to shed some light on that?
Sure. So I invited local businesses to a virtual meeting, I think it was last week, to talk about how or if to celebrate Halloween in the business district. And it was Massaro Community Farm was there. Several people were there from Crest, and Debbie and Jeremy attended. And gosh, Debbie, is there one more business?
Amethyst Lounge.
Thank you. Yes, Amethyst Lounge.
Jesse was there. 10 Selden was there.
Yes.
Was there more than one session? I went to one. I didn't know if you had a day and an evening. Okay.
And so we talked about there are 2 more concerts scheduled for the lawn at Coachman Square, and one of them is the weekend before Thanksgiving. So we talked about trying to organize a trick-or-treat event leading up to that 1 p.m. concert. And the folks at the event were very interested in doing this, and I've had
You said Thanksgiving, but you meant Halloween, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You said the concert is before Thanksgiving, or did you mean Halloween?
I meant Halloween. Thank you. So I've had maybe 3 or 4 other businesses express interest. So I put together a draft flyer, and I'm going to circulate it to a couple more businesses to see if anyone else is interested. So the idea is we can get families down into the business district to literally go inside businesses that they may not have been in before. Hopefully we can introduce them to businesses, participating businesses and their neighbors, and then keep them in the business district for a free concert at 1 p.m. And last year, Coachman Square did a costume contest for kids. This is back when residents were still not really leaving the building, maybe not even allowed to leave the building. So the kids in costume paraded around the outside of the building while the residents were inside and could watch them from their windows. So it was very cute, very sweet, really emotional. And they're interested in doing something again. So I'm not sure yet if we're going to be able to do all of those same things at the same on the same day. I think that would be ideal if we can pull it off, because I think that would really draw in a lot of families. And then later that evening on the 23rd and also Friday the 22nd, the Willows is going to be doing their second annual, it's not quite a haunted house, but it's they decorate their driveway with Halloween scenes. Last year it was a drive-through. This year they're going to be doing a walk-through, and there's a single goodie bag for all the participants. So it's not quite trick-or-treating, but sort of the same concept, but with, you know, less contact. So they're also going to be asking neighboring businesses along Amity Road if they'd like to decorate the exterior of their building for Halloween. So I feel like this is the sort of thing that, you know, with 1 or 2 more years could become a thing, like a capital T thing. And maybe it would be helpful to the businesses.
Do you think we would be able to, so how can we reach out to the businesses to see who does want to open or who does want to participate? Did we start that conversation already?
Yes, so I emailed the retail businesses directly and got a few replies, and I've got a draft e-newsletter that I'm hoping to send out next week with a draft flyer so that they can see what it looks like and have a better idea. And maybe once they see which of their neighbors have already signed up, more of them will be interested in joining.
Well, do you think we'll be able to use that unifying poster in the storefronts so people know where they can go, and then we can do that same thing in maybe the newspaper, so it's, you know, come down on these dates so you can say hi to the businesses and bring the kids in and get candy. But if we use the Woodbridge Buck symbol or something like that to sort of unify all the stores that want to participate, you know.
Yeah, so right now I've just got a cutesy little flyer kind of explaining, you know, there's trick or treating and the concert, and I have sort of a placeholder for the costume contest if that is going to happen as well. And then on the flip side, I'm listing the businesses that are participating. So ideally, they could be flyers that we could pass out to businesses. We could have them at town hall. And if we can get it on Facebook and Instagram, last year, the flyer I put together with all of the Woodbridge Halloween events going on didn't quite go viral, but it was wildly popular. Parents were desperate to find safe outdoor things for their kids to do during Halloween. And I know a lot of moms groups were sharing it. Friends of mine that have no connection to Woodbridge other than me found out about it and were asking me about it. So it was really successful. So I think if we can do that again, that would be helpful.
Right. Another thing we discussed in that conference call was Crest and how they have this gorgeous new showroom with no cars in it because they can't get cars right now. And they are actually now featuring local artists in art exhibits on the walls in their new showroom. It's beautiful in there. They've offered it up for us to utilize for maybe gathering of business owners, to have a meeting or two in person. People would wear masks, or we could go in for, you know, look at, you know, check out and then go check out the inside of the showroom and then come outside to talk. But it could be a nice first venue to try to get some of the businesses together down there. And maybe a fall event would be a nice time to gather. It would be awesome if we had a bunch of EDC members there. I'll start to meet some of the business owners. I've met a lot of them. I know Debbie's met a ton of them. Betsy's met them all. But it would be nice for us as a committee or as a commission to be able to go to an event like that, you know, with as best we can, but to go down there and show our support and meet people and listen to them and hear what they think about, you know, how we can help them bring more business down there. They have a lot of good ideas, and I think it's nice to use them as a focus group and try to move some of their ideas along, because at the end of the day, if they make more money, it's better for the town. They can bring in more employees, they can grow and all that kind of stuff. So I, for one, would love to move something like that along and see if Crest wants to host something. I don't know how much time we need to be able to put something together like that, but I don't know, it'd be great if we could do it in October. Sort of like I don't know, a pre-Halloween meeting to see who may want to come out or something like that.
Well, and I would love to talk with businesses too about Small Business Saturday. We've never really done anything as a town for that. Again, I have no money to do anything. But that's the sort of thing I think if we could do something clever would bring people out, and maybe getting people together for brainstorming would be useful. Then again, a lot of the businesses that come to the happy hours that we've had in the past are not the retail type of businesses, and this is less relevant to them.
True. I don't know how to get the office folks involved. I thought about it a lot, and other than having, you know, a business association where they can utilize each other for networking, you know, bringing people down to trick or treat. They're not going to go into, you know, the lender building and go knocking on doors at the various offices. So yeah, this is sort of geared more towards the retail folks, but there are a lot of them. And there's plenty that haven't, you know, been part of these groups in the past. So, so do you think we should try to, when is Small Business Saturday?
It is
It's the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend.
Okay.
And American Express, and there's some other companies that provide at no charge templates to use that you can customize. So even without a lot of budget, there are ways to help with the marketing. And I bet you a lot of the retail and restaurants, if they take American Express cards, they probably get that those digital assets, but may not know what to do with them. So it's out there, and there's a lot of different templates to use. It's just maybe helping them do it or coordinating a list under a small shop small Saturday kind of umbrella.
Do you think it'd be a good idea to use that as a meeting topic to see if we can get together at Crest? Is that something we could? No, Betsy, you're shaking your head.
Well, I'm only saying no because I think if that's the hook, you're not going to get very many people, right? You're not going to, the restaurants aren't going to come because they can never come to meetings because they are always working or sleeping. The retail folks, some of them might come, but I think if you want to have a meeting, I think there needs to be something or a couple things that are of interest to multiple, the diverse groups in the business district, right? So maybe a business association would be of interest to, the insurance agents and the retailers. The survey data that we've collected, I assume, would be of interest to commercial property owners and realtors. And then maybe you also talk about Halloween and Small Business Saturday, or you ask for a review of Woodbridge Bucks. Did people like it? Do they want us to do it again? Was it a waste of time? Was it I think feedback on some of these things that we've tried would be useful. Like, are we wasting our time? Is there a better way to do this?
Yeah, I agree with Betsy. I think a small agenda that is has a lot of variety. So different businesses, whether you're an accountant or a restaurant or a retailer, you might find something interesting on the agenda, plus snacks and drinks. And maybe we had a lot of people come out at Woodbridge Social, and we had a lot of people the year before at Saloon. So I think if the agenda has variety to speak to the most possible participants, it could work. But yeah, I think if it's only about Small Business Saturday or only about one thing, you may not get enough.
I think this is great. If, I think if we put together a small agenda like that, that includes all the different types of businesses, I think it's a good try. Might as well try. So timing and days are always difficult, because of the nature of restaurants or retailers and everything else. Is it something, because we're not going to get together again until the second week in October, how can we put something together now, for then? Is there anything we can put together that we can schedule something for? It may even be before our next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question is it daytime or is it evening? And who's doing the talking? Because that person needs to be at the meeting. I mean, I know Sean is incredibly busy, but if he's available to walk people through the survey, he did the most work on the survey. I think that would be really useful. I don't know. Do you guys? The next meeting is October 14th.
We couldn't have our meeting there, could we? And invite the business owners to an EDC and the agenda is this meeting? Or is that too difficult?
You could, I don't see why you couldn't do that.
Are we allowed to meet in person though? I mean, what is this? When is this virtual only expiring, and do we know? I mean, I would hate to plan anything.
Right.
That's a big question mark, whether it's our next meeting in person or inviting businesses to a happy hour might still fall under the governor's orders of not meeting. I don't know the fine line between that.
So the in-person is not the governor's order. The governor's order allows us to not do in-person. And so Beth made the decision, because things got significantly worse due to the Delta variant, to not be meeting in person indoors. I wonder if, because certainly some people, I think, would shy away from an in-person meeting, especially if food was involved. But I wonder if there's some way to do like a tour at Crest to see the new space and look at the art. And I know they want people to come in and think about using their space as an event space, and then move over to the brewery and be in their tent, so that we would be sheltered but outside.
It's a good idea.
They let us reserve that tent.
Really good idea.
Probably not the whole thing, but I don't think that they're open every day, and maybe we could just have a portion of it depending on the day.
That's a great idea.
Okay. So can we talk line to move this along and then send out an email to, like, we'll have to check with Crest and all this other stuff. We can't really plan it all at this very moment.
Yeah, I don't think we need to finalize everything right now, but
Okay.
but so we're thinking of talking about business association survey results and
Feedback.
events
Bucks.
and Bucks feedback.
Do we have any budget left over? Ourselves, like EDC?
Yes, so you're in a new budget year, which started July 1. So nothing's been spent yet. And I don't know off the top of my head what you have, but I would guess that it's under $2,000, or right around the $2,000 mark.
Okay.
So if we met at the brewery, and let's say what we've done for happy hours in the past is we've asked the bar or restaurant to put out whatever and however many they want free appetizers, so that people are not drinking on an empty stomach. And then we've told participants that they can choose to or not purchase a beverage, so that the host is still getting something out of this, and hopefully they're getting new customers in the door. So we could offer to bring in food since the brewery does not have a restaurant on site. So maybe we could purchase snacks from somewhere.
And they have a food truck there almost every day.
Right, so if we're there on a day they're closed, clearly there wouldn't be a food truck, but if we're there on a day that's open, people could just choose to buy from the food truck.
And I've
And we
seen them
could-
sent up. No, go ahead, Debbie.
No, I was just saying, I didn't know they are closed certain nights, but that would obviously be the best angle to have use of that tent. And we can, I mean, I'd be happy to bring chips and salsa and, you know, those kinds of things. And then people can buy their own, we can't provide alcohol, I think, the cost or the liability, but
We'll be at the brewery.
yeah.
You know what, I was wrong, they are open every day.
But I think I was going to say before, like I went down there on Father's Day this year, they had, you know, they had a big tent for tables, but they also had a smaller tent set up for other items. They were selling cigars under another tent and people were smoking in a different tent. They may set up a tent for us. Rob's really into, you know, Rob, I think would be happy to lend some sort of, yeah. So I think if we contact him and say, hey, do you have a, you know, a 20 by 10 that you could set up for us for a group of 12 people separate from your normal crowd, I think he'd be pretty open to that. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he would be open to the idea. Cool. See if we can do it. I think it'll be nice before it gets too cold to meet outside. All right, so 8:11. Let's see what else we got going on. Business district events, is that sort of where we are right now? That's what we just discussed.
Yeah.
Any other updates and announcements? I don't have any other than what I've talked about. Is there anything else?
Well,
on your
Just
list?
have, oh, go ahead.
No,
I
no,
was
go.
going to remind everybody about the Freedom of Information seminar. I don't know what you call it. Information session, which we're all supposed to attend.
So that's on the 14th, I believe, right, of this month?
Yes, next Tuesday.
And I have a meeting that night, so I can attend. But I mentioned that to Betsy, and she said that will be recorded, so anyone can go. After they do that meeting, you can log into the town site, find that FOIA video, and you can watch it on your own time.
Oh, great.
It just discusses what we can and cannot do in terms of discussing things, and yeah.
And if we participated in a past year, you still have to do it each year you're currently on a border commission?
I don't think so.
I don't know that anything has changed. I mean, it certainly helps as a refresher. And it's a good opportunity too to ask questions because you know, you always think you know it, and then there's some weird issue that comes up. And
The old meeting, yeah, the old meeting someone in the supermarket aisle and what you can and cannot talk about.
well, the laws is kind of counterintuitive too.
Mhm.
So a few other updates. On Saturday, the fire department is holding a memorial service for the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And that starts at 8:30 outside the firehouse where they have the memorial. And then across the street at 10 a.m., we're holding the last second Saturday event. It's a craft fair. And it's also including some of the events that we had to cancel from the August event because of weather. So there's a craft fair, we'll have a pizza truck, we'll have a Cafe Rebelde will be there, and there will be free art supplies for people. People generously donated to the library, and the library is going to be letting people pick and choose from craft and art supplies. There's a art project for the community to participate in, and we've got watercolor supplies for people to borrow while they're there and lawn games. And then on October 2nd, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee is working on an event called Woodbridge Like Me. And this is a partnership with the library. The book they've chosen for the One Town One book is called American Like Me. And it's a series of essays written by first and second generation immigrants about their story of being American or when they finally felt American, or their version of being American. And so the event is kind of all about what is civic life in Woodbridge, and we're inviting lots of organizations, and there will be performances and demonstrations and interactive tables. So that's on October 2nd. And then I, told you guys all about the Halloween stuff that's in the works.
Great. Anybody else have any comments, questions? Yeah.
I just
Debbie.
have one brief mention. Jeremy, you mentioned her name a few minutes ago. Jody Allant, the former chair of the EDC, suddenly lost her husband last weekend. So Howard Ryder passed away last weekend. His service was on Monday already at B'nai Jacob. He passed very tragically and suddenly. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and send our condolences from our commission. I don't know if Beth sent a note out, or if as a commission we can draft a letter. You can make a donation in his memory, and with Rosh Hashanah and everything, the Shiva and all of that really hasn't been announced, but you can certainly send your condolences to her home address.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, very, very sad.
That's sad. Is there anything we can do as a commission, Betsy? Could we plant trees in their honor or anything like that?
If you want to buy trees.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
certainly the town sent a condolence note, but if the commission wanted to send an additional one,
put something together.
why not?
Mhm. There are two, I can forward it to Betsy, and if she can disseminate it, there were two causes that they were, if you, in the Jewish tradition, in lieu of sending flowers, you often make a donation in the person's memory. And there were two causes listed, but I can forward those. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew, and whether we do something as a group or people want to do something individually or not. I just wanted to make sure people knew.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
I just have one question. Did we complete the election of chair, vice chair, secretary?
So the vice chair was tabled till the next meeting.
Okay. Okay.
So,
But the other elections did happen?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
that's Jeremy and Cleo.
Okay.
And then there is one thing I should mention. You should have all received an email, as Cleo mentioned, about the FOI workshop on Tuesday. And included in that was news that the Board of Selectmen has received two proposals for the country club. One of them is by a group called Arbor Haven, and it would develop nearly the entire property. And I think the purchase price would be $9 million. Does that sound right, Paul?
9 million. Yes.
And then the other, and that was presented to the board at their previous meeting, and the presentation is available on the town website. The board also received a proposal from Eclipse Development, that's the developer working with the brewery, to purchase a significantly smaller portion of the property, about 20 acres for 1.5 million. And that would be a brewery, event space, and rental homes. The other one is for purchase homes, and that proposal is on the town website as well. They were invited to come to the board meeting last night, but were unable to, and are planning to come in October. So for whatever reason, out of the blue, both of these groups are interested simultaneously in the property. So there's probably going to be a lot of discussion about that going.
The first proposal includes some moderately priced homes, some higher priced homes, and age restricted housing. It's an interesting proposal to look at, and we really haven't seen the brewery proposal, but the developer looks interesting.
Is there anything that we as a commission can do or lend an opinion on? Or is that not? I don't know if it's even one.
Well, why don't you have a look at the proposal and as a commission discuss it and see if there is something that you want to opine on.
Let's put it on the agenda for the October meeting to talk about it.
So only one proposal is available on the website, or are they both?
Both are, and one is a presentation, and the other one is just, a PDF
Just a
outline.
brief outline, yeah.
Yeah, a written outline. And there will probably be more information after next month's board meeting. But the board did agree last night that they would like the Arbor Haven proposal, the larger one Paul was just talking about. They would like those developers to hold a public information section so that residents have a chance to see the information and ask questions, and also, I don't know if they'll be able to visit all boards and commissions, or if they would try to visit certain ones or hold joint meetings, but also make an effort to get to board and commission members.
Great. And you can find that. Can you find all that information in the meeting packet from the meeting last night?
No, but it is on the, if you go to the town website and you go to boards and commissions and you go to the board of selectmen page, there's a section called, I think it's called current issues. It's also, the link is in the email that went out about the FOI meeting.
Okay.
That email went out probably around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay. All right, we can circulate it for the next meeting. Anything else from anyone? Someone want to make a motion to adjourn? Debbie? Want to second it?
I'll second it.
Scott? All right. Thanks, everyone. It was nice to meet you. I think we're going to have a lot of great conversations. And I look forward to working with everyone. All in favor to adjourn? Yeah, Debbie?
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
good night.
Good night, everybody.